Does anyone want to Cohen? You can have him. He's free.
I think he's going to be mine a lot of the time starting next week.
Do you know what he's been doing today using his reading skills? He has figured out how to browse on Amazon. So he's been searching for toys and reading the reviews to see if they are good or bad toys.
I don't know. Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. It's like, Mom, can you search for it? And I'm like, Con, I am working. You have schoolwork. Get off Amazon, please, and watch your video.
Just make sure he didn't know how to push buy now or swipe.
That's what he was like. Can I hit buy now? I was like, no, you may not hit buy now. Thankfully, I don't think it's logged in, so it wouldn't work if he did, but he did read the words and understand that he could. Everyone is here or here-ish, except Casey. Yes.
Jennifer.
Oh, right. Okay. We're waiting for her computer to restart. Okay. While we wait, we have three minutes written up to approve if anyone wants to read them while we wait.
Jennifer's in the waiting room.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and get started? And if Casey makes it, she makes it. Yes, okay. All right, let's call to order at 5:51. Does anyone have anything they want to revise or prioritize on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, the agenda is approved as written. And let's move on to approving prior meeting minutes. The first ones being the February 9th regular meeting minutes. Did anyone have any? Well, I'll give you a couple of minutes if you haven't read it, and if you have read it, if anyone has any edits.
I know when I sent it out originally, Paige had said there was something, I misspelled somebody's name. Is it,
Maya.
was it
It's on the
M-I-A?
February. It's on the February 9th minutes under principal report.
I got it.
Almost halfway down, it's MYAH.
I got it.
And if everyone is done looking at them, if anyone wants to make a motion to approve them.
All three of them.
No, just the February 9th ones.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to approve the February 9th minutes as revised.
I will
And can I
second.
get a okay, so we can just do one roll call vote. Let's do the motions in seconds for each minute, and then we'll do the roll call vote for all of the motions at one time. Can you do that?
I thought we did one motion for all 3 minutes before, so that's why I was asking that. So I don't see why
Oh,
not.
we usually just do them one at a time.
I think if there were no revises, and we did that.
Revisions.
Yeah. That
Okay.
one.
Wait, can we do that, Deanne?
Yeah, if there aren't any objections or revisions or discussions, yeah.
So then the February 24th special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to pass those as written.
I'll second.
And the March 1st special meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes as written as well.
I'll second.
All right, so the motions on the table are to approve the February 9th meeting minutes, the February 24th special meeting minutes, and the March 1st special meeting minutes. So we'll do a roll call vote for that. Paige.
Yes.
Okay, Yes. And Mindy
Yes.
and Jennifer
Yes.
and Cheryl.
Yes.
And is that it?
No,
You see?
I say yes too.
And me. Oh. Oh, how did I miss you? Oh, you're in the main part of my screen and I was just looking at the people at the top. Okay. And I am a yes as well. All right. On to public input. Does anyone have any public input? No? All right. PTO update. PTO has not met since APB last met. We are in the middle of I Did a Read and did a retirement gift for Tamara. And I think Tanya is working with Deanne on scheduling time to move a lot of the PTO, like totes and big things on the shelves, to the Connex at the landlord's lot is it on Muldoon? Is that correct? You're muted.
It's on Commercial Drive.
Commercial Drive. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay. So scheduling that, I think, for this week so that the sacks and materials can get put on shelves in the closet. And I think that's all the big stuff we've got going on. Did I miss anything, Mindy? No?
The yearbook.
Okay.
Hello. It's been my whole life this last week. It's going on right now.
What is?
The yearbook.
Oh, yes, yearbook. How's that going?
Ask me next week and we'll see.
All right. And then we do have a meeting scheduled tomorrow.
Oh, we do?
No.
Sorry.
Surprise.
Okay, I'll be there.
He's back here also.
Shh. I'm not on mute. Stop. The dog peed in the house, everyone. Okay, on to principal's report.
So I added our current lottery application information in there so that everybody can see the progress that we're making. I think it's a pretty hefty list considering we won't likely have as many students leaving our program this summer. So we'll rapidly start to refill our waiting list. Sixth grade currently does have 10 students applying. So that's nice. Peaks assessment is starting. Mindy and the 3, 4, 5, 6 teachers and I sat down to get a schedule going and work over some logistics. While we do have only one Chrome cart available for assessments, that's going to be more than plenty because of the Zooming that's going on. IT has determined that our total number of concurrent testers is 13 at the most. So we have hired a sub to come in and test half of the classes for language arts and math while the teacher stays in the classroom teaching the other half. And testing will go on in the tech lab. And 3 guesses who our sub is. But she'll be engaged.
Do you really need 3? I mean,
When you say with the Zooming that's going on, does that mean like throughout the district, our bandwidth is only able to be 13 people at a time? Is that what that means?
Yeah, they did a bandwidth assessment for each building. So because of the amount of Zooms that are kind of going on for kids who are at home or especially our kiddos who are traveling or on quarantine because they may have symptoms or anything like that. We anticipated that some of that bandwidth was going to be used for Zooming. The peaks assessment is a little bit of more of a robust assessment. It requires more bandwidth than the MAP assessment does. So, we know the district normally likes to just take the first 2 weeks of the month that the district or the state gives us for the testing window to get it all done. But this year they're recommending that we take the entire window, and we will be. So that's going on in the month of April. And then I shared with you during the specials meeting or our special meeting for 7th and 8th grade, a technology assessment of what we have in the building. My recommendation to the board for consideration and discussion is that we purchase another Chrome cart. The district will not be asking students to return their Chromebooks. We can certainly do that, but that being said, I don't know how many of them are actually going to be fully functional by the time we get them back. So in anticipation of working through next year and then potentially adding on that 7th and 8th grade, I recommend that we get them now and also purchase 10 new MacBook Air laptops. We are limping by with the old MacBook Pros that used to be teacher laptops. They can no longer be updated by the district, so a lot of them aren't able to actually Zoom and do all of the things that we want them to do. So they are rapidly becoming more like doorstops than they are resources for the TAs and subs. That being said, we still have about $12,000 in the budget for the first run of the CARES Act remaining. And then we are getting another $191,000 through the federal ESSER grant, the second round of COVID funds that are designed to help schools mitigate the effects of COVID that we could use toward that.
191 for our school.
Yes.
Deanne,
Yes.
can I ask a question about the MacBooks?
Yes.
So how does that work with the teachers? Because I know we've had ours for quite a few years now. So,
Right. So
go ahead.
The district does not provide technologies for any of their TAs or substitutes, really, unless they're a long-term sub, they can get one through IT. The teachers are AEA and APA staff members get theirs refreshed through the district. I did talk with IT before we left from spring break to find out when the next round of refreshings are, and we believe that's going to happen within the next year or so. So that's why I'm not recommending actually purchasing ones for teachers, because they're going to be refreshed. And when I say refreshed, like the last time they made us turn in the old MacBook Airs and gave us new ones, just like when they refreshed the Chrome cart for us, they took the old cart and gave us a new one. It's kind of part of the deal that they have with the vendor or the manufacturer, is they get the old devices back and the new devices. To replace them.
Charter schools will be a part of that. Do we know that for sure? I know we were last time, but years prior we hadn't been. We had to purchase our own for teachers.
Yeah, IT has been the one department that's been very good at advocating that if they're doing it for AEA, and they did it not necessarily as a charter school brick and mortar building thing. They did it more as all AEA employees as a union type thing that they provide those. So we do anticipate them doing that for us. But all the other devices in the building, like the Tamara's and all the other sort of totem employees, those were at the discretion of schools to actually fund those.
As far as the CARES grant, is there a date that the initial amount has to be used by? Do we know?
I think we're supposed to use that by September of 2021.
And how much is left on that one? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, that's one of the attachments, and I apologize. I know I just sent that to you today.
I haven't had a chance to look at them.
Yeah, we have roughly $12,000 left in that one. And the district does recommend that we use the CARES Act before the ESSER 2 grant, because the ESSER 2 doesn't sunset for another 2 years. I think we have to the fall of 2023 to use that one.
So are we planning on asking our students to return Chromebooks, or are we just, I don't know, what kind of plan do we have? My fear is if, something happens again and we have to go online and then we're giving out brand new Chromebooks and.
Right. I'm not going to ask for those back until the end of the semester, because if we do have to pivot a class online like we did for our kindy class, those devices are already available for the kids who needed them. If we ask for them back earlier, and we do have to pivot a class or two, then it's going to be quite a challenge for us to get devices home in time for those kids to actually use them. So yes, my thought is we can ask for them back if any of them are damaged. The district technically does have, because we did talk to parents about the technology use agreement, and it was on every single baggie that we printed out to send home with students, that if there was any damage, parents could be liable for that. But at this point in the game, the district has not asked anyone to replace a device or pay for damage to it, unless it was something totally malicious on the family's part.
Just for a frame of reference, the last quote that we had when we purchased the Chrome cart before I had was $9,430. So I don't know if prices are the same, but
We got a little bit of a discount for those because we were added into the district's bulk order. So it cost us a little less than we thought. I think we saved about $1,000 for the Chromebooks and the carts. The cart, we had to pay for the cart also.
so is that something that we'll have to add to an agenda to actually have on there to be able to vote on that? Because it's the dollar amount.
Yeah, it is an impact to our budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll add both of those about the MacBook and the Chrome cart, and then Deanne, at the next meeting, you'll have the dollar amounts.
I can try to get a quote from the stores department for that.
Any more questions on that? And if not, Did you have anything else on your report that's not an agenda item? Maybe the staffing.
So our landlord has made that Connex available to us. Jonathan plowed through with all the heavy snow. He was actually surprised we asked about it because he had to go out and he was plowing all the snow up in that area. So he took his Bobcat out and plowed away the front of one of the Connexes. So that is available to the PTO as soon as they're ready to start moving stuff. I have not yet sat down and worked out numbers. Sean is happy to do the 1-year lease and then talk to us about a potential 3-year on top of that. So Vanessa, if you and I want to sit down and kind of generate some numbers and maybe an offer on if we would be interested in paying through our lease any of the tenant improvements that would be expected for assuming more space, we can kind of pitch a proposal to him. And then I sent out a text message to you all earlier this week regarding the status of our new AA. We hope that she would have started yesterday, but she is delayed a little coming out of Arizona. So I've been in touch with her.
She's in the waiting room. Sorry to
Yay.
interrupt.
We're interrupting her vacation in Hawaii.
Oh.
Sorry, Casey, I just outed you to everybody.
Ha,
I told
They
them
can
you were
see
sitting
my-
on the beach.
no. Sorry, we got here just in time to be evacuated for torrential rainstorms like every single day we've
Yeah.
been here. But
Oh, no.
hey, whatever.
I was just going to say, you're very excused from this meeting, but you probably would rather sit in it. Oh,
There
did
she
she
went.
leave?
She was excused.
I don't want to be or see anybody sitting on the beach right now. I just shoveled 18 inches of snow off my deck.
Yes. So that's all I had. I'm waiting on an ETA arrival for our AA. If she's not able to be back for Monday, I'm going to start looking for a sub.
Do we know what her name? What is she going to do? The whole hyphenated name for what students will call her? Do we know that yet?
We do not. I was guessing they'd call her Miss Diana like they called Tamara Miss Tamara. But I can certainly contact her and see what her preference is.
Okay. And then was she an ASB employee earlier this year? I'm just
Yes.
wondering if she would have had a picture taken that we can try to find to put in the yearbook.
Well, nobody took pictures this year, but she was working for maintenance, and I don't believe they do school photos for departments other than
Would
school
you
buildings.
would you be able to get her the snaps at home information and ask her if she wants to be in the yearbook, do that picture and then just send me the email digital file, email me the digital file.
Sure.
I'm assuming it will work. I don't know how it works if they're not in a current class list. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but that way that she can at least try to be in the yearbook if we're able to.
Okay.
Casey's in the waiting room again.
Yep, I will find that link and see if she can get on there.
Thank you.
Anything else on the principal's report or anything for Deanne? I had a question about the Zoom or the info Zoom on Thursday. Do you think you could send out an email just about that? So I had someone ask on the Facebook page if they could send questions ahead of time and if it would be recorded. So maybe just, this is happening, we'll record it. You can watch it on the website later or something for people who can't make it.
Yeah. So I sent out that information. I'm not going to share very much information other than what went out in the newsletter, but if people have specific questions, they can certainly email that or send it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with going back to all students in school, does that mean we are not having any virtual students unless there was a COVID case in the classroom?
So we are still opening up Zooms because we had originally told families that we would continue EACS online until we were back for a full school day, that 6.5 hour school day, and we're currently only in the 5.5 hour school day. I know technically our kiddos are actually in the building for 6 hours, but we have that additional 15-minute snack time and then the 10-minute passing time in the afternoon for the special so that they can get to and from one class and set up their supplies and instruments and things. Our kiddos are in the building about a half an hour longer than everybody else. So they may have some questions, but they're still getting 4.5 hours of instruction. So that being said, we have allowed some of our families to continue to be online. They are emailing me kind of one-on-one. And then also if we have students who have symptoms, they may not necessarily be COVID positive, but they are staying home for that 10 days unless they can get a negative test result back to us. So we're still making the Zooms available. Teachers will not be recording them and posting them online. It will be up to families to actually have their students present during the live Zoom sessions.
Casey asked, have we discussed the substitute laptop issue? Yeah, we touched on it, but it'll have to be added to another or the next agenda. So we did touch on that. Basically what we have are really old ones and the teachers are included in when the district does refreshes for all of their teachers generally. So that was the recommendation to replace the substitute ones because our teachers are already on a rotation done by the district.
Okay, great. I was just thinking that from an update, having that mirror image and everything on there.
Any other questions before we move on from the principal report? All right, on to, I assume tabled, the Special Standards Committee update. Hiring committee update.
So we did hire our
I don't
AA.
remember if we've had a
And we are also in the process of collecting names and talking with people who are interested in our interventionist TA positions.
We have one person interested, so we will probably be conducting an interview very soon.
Is that a job posting or just looking for interested people? Okay.
Since it's a temporary position, we don't have to go through the same hiring announcements and things for current employees internally and then externally. It's something that schools can do independently on their own. So we don't necessarily even have to submit any of our interview questions and how many people we've interviewed. We're just allowed to bring someone on.
I didn't know if we had exhausted any interested people and had to go the route of job posting.
Yeah, everyone was knocking down the doors, and so we had to figure out who we were going to try to let in.
All right. And 7th, 8th expansion committee update. We haven't met since the APB voted, but have scheduled meetings for the next 4 Thursdays, I think, or 3 Thursdays. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that sounds right. To hash out any final details. And then I don't know, did Daryl get, I sent him the draft minutes. So when we get these final ones, I'll send those to him. And then he said he was going to clean up the memo to the board. Oh, and have we heard from the superintendent and her cabinet, I guess?
He cleaned up the memo to the board and sent that to the cabinet and the board secretary for the April agenda.
Okay. So do we
So,
know yet?
no word
if
yet.
No word yet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Old business lease renewal. So we are going to, what did Sean wanted me? I started drafting it and I have like the wording done, but I need to get the dollar amounts for a 1-year extension. And then like we talked about during the principal's report, you and I can sit and look at tenant. Okay. Sorry, Colin is making phone calls on counters. And then we'll work numbers for a 3-year COVID extension with the build out for the 7th and 8th grade.
Does that include the Connex? Sorry, late again on that too.
He's not charging us anything for the Connex right now.
So he's not at all. Okay, that's great. So you don't have to build that into the lease at all.
And I can, I had like a section in the draft that I was doing for the 1-year extension. If you think we'll need to add it in for that, I had an area where we could add that, but I wasn't sure if we needed to or not.
He hasn't indicated, I mean, he's indicated for this year that he's not charging us, so we didn't have to do an amendment. But if we're
Okay.
going to actually try to move something and have it on the campus, yeah, I think that it would only be fair that we compensate him for that.
Hold on 1 second. I have to ask if my mom.
No. All right. And then additional storage area for the next item, since we're on the topic of Connex or storage area. What's the route? Oh, wait. I guess we don't even, well, I guess we would. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Do we have anything? Is Connex the route we want to go and then build it into the lease, I guess is what we want to know.
I mean, can you put it in there and take it out if you don't come up with a better solution or an additional solution? Or, I mean, I would just rather have it covered as opposed to us having to meet again to sort it out.
What size Connex is it that we're using now that he's cleared out?
He's cleared out a 20-foot Connex for us, but I think that's way too big. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to be able to find a place to put that.
Well, if we use the Connex next year for just the 1 year extension, and then the following year when we get more space for 7th and 8th, hopefully, then we, depending on how much space, maybe some of that could be used for storage.
Mhm.
Okay.
Didn't he say he had a smaller Connex too?
He does, but that one actually has some of his things in there. So I'm not sure how much he's willing to actually move stuff out of one of his connexes to let us use that one.
Especially if we only want it for a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if it was a shorter one and we wanted to still have outdoor storage space, that it could still be there if it was like only a 10-foot. I can't remember what the sizes were, but
I mean, why would he give us one though that wouldn't fit somewhere on the property?
Well, he does have a shorter, I think 10-foot connex, but a 20-foot one just is huge. I mean, he has 3 empty 20-foot ones, and that's what he's allowing us to use right now because he's not using them. So
And do they fit on the property now, or is that's
no,
what he's
they're
gonna
not
let
on the
us?
property. Yeah.
Does he have a place he can put them? I mean, has he sorted that out, or?
Well, he currently has a property that he has them on up in Mountain View on Commercial Drive.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And that's where he's going to allow us to store stuff for the remainder of this year.
Oh,
But
okay.
if we wanted to move something, I mean, we could look into purchasing our own, but that's something I don't recommend because if we do end up moving to another facility, then we would own that and have to figure out how to move it and store it or sell it. And then if we sold it, actually, I don't know, it probably would become property of the district if we couldn't keep it on our new place, and they wouldn't buy it from us because they technically think our money is, district money.
I guess I would.
Yeah, sorry, Jennifer.
That's okay. I guess if he was willing to put a 10-foot and you'd say, hey, maybe in August, the beginning of August, could we have the 10-foot ready available so that we could move it? And then we could transfer the stuff from the 20-foot to the 10-foot and then have that 10-foot on space, especially if we're moving things around. It might be nice to have that storage.
We can certainly ask him if he's willing to move his stuff to give us that container. I mean, he's been so nice to offer us the use of this without a whole lot of inconvenience to him. I don't know what he actually has in that container, so I don't know how easy it would be for him to move it. But I can ask if he'd be willing. Yeah.
I just say, just get the 20-foot. If it's going to fit on our lot, then we know we have enough room for storage because nothing's more annoying than trying to put stuff in storage and you run out of room and then you have to get another one. At least this way we have enough room.
Okay, I was thinking that it was staying in Mountain View and you guys were going to have to transport their stuff there to store it. So that's not correct?
That is correct for this year.
Okay.
Because everything's snowbound?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So this year only, and then next year it's a whole new. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Maybe we could even turn it into an extra classroom.
I was about to say, I grew up in a Connex at my public school and it worked just fine. It was a little loud entering and exiting, to go to the bathroom, but whatever.
Cold in the winter.
Event Connex.
What?
PTO event Connex.
Listen, Connexes are so trendy right now. We'd probably start some weirdo trend with our Connex, our PTO Connex.
That school that they use Connexes for their classroom? That one over in Eagle River? I'm just kidding.
That would be every single school that I grew up in Texas due to over expansion.
Okay, so we want to go forward with the Connex, not a storage facility, correct?
I think it's more convenient to have it on our property outside the back door. I mean, I know there is storage facility across the street, but it's still across the street that you'd have to load things in a vehicle and drive it over there and unload it. It's just a lot of hassle. If we were able to have one on our property, I think that would make it so much simpler.
Okay. Well, for the next agenda, we'll take that off of here and it'll get like lumped in with the lease renewal and we can hash it out in that area. All right, on to new business. Our normal notice of intent to return to families, but I don't think those have been sent out. Have they?
We
They
did
have?
not. We did not send out a paper form. We did send out an electronic survey, and we have 66 responses.
Oh man, I think I vaguely remember that. I couldn't tell you if I
So-
did it.
So 100% of the respondents said that they were returning. We didn't have anyone that said that they were not returning. But that's something that I can actually, when I send out my my email about the Zoom on Thursday, I can remind families who haven't done the survey to actually please do that so that we know
Okay.
roundabout figures for setting our lottery numbers.
Okay. And then spring APB election. Yay. 2 elections in 1 year. Whose seats are up? Let's see. Cheryl, Paige, and I just got elected. So Jennifer, is that right? Paige, Cheryl, and I just got elected.
And
So
then
Jennifer and Casey's seats. Is that right?
and Mindy's.
I think Cheryl's was a fill-in, not a seat.
Oh, it's just the 1 year.
So I think no,
Okay.
I think Cheryl's is also up because she was filling a seat that expires at the end of this year.
Okay.
So even though it was an election for her when she did it,
Yeah.
her seat expires, so she has to do it again.
Okay. So Cheryl's and Jennifer's seats, and then Mindy's, but that's not on this kind of ballot. That's the teacher.
Ultimately, it is.
election.
And Casey, because Casey's is a 1 year.
Correct. Do we want to put together a committee? I mean, yes, we do because we're supposed to. Let's see. So
Should
not
it be you and
Jennifer.
I since Jennifer did it last time?
Well, I'm on the
Yes.
ballot this time, so
I have a
And
question
then-
about that too, since we're talking about it. Like, just because we've had a couple people that that have mentioned running that aren't on our board now. Like, what happens if we have like 4 applications? Say all 3 of you, the seats that are up, apply, and then we have a couple more that want to apply, and they all pick 1 seat. Like, are we allowed to say, do you just want to run for the APB? And that way, does that make sense? Like, what if everybody ran for Jennifer's seat, but only Cheryl ran for Cheryl's seat and Casey ran for Casey's seat? Does that make sense?
They're like on the application, there's a seat that they can fill out. I know 1 year there were a lot of seats open when I reapplied. So I just put like all the seats.
I mean, if that would
And-
be an option though, because people don't know. They don't know
Yeah.
necessarily how many are applying for each spot. So if you said, hey, are you really attached to the seat, or are you willing, if there was some way to indicate that? We actually just ran into that with some an election for a group on post that everybody wanted this one seat, but they didn't care, but it was the first one in the list. And so, I mean, I was like, how did this happen? So avoiding that would be awesome.
Maybe we can list all the seats and then another one, willing to serve on any seat.
Perfect. That would be perfect.
We could maybe like willing to serve on another seat if no applicants in that seat area or something like that. Willing to change the seat that I'm applying for if no applicants in a seat or something like that.
Some of
Willing
this
to work on
sounds very
any seat.
daunting. Yeah. Some of them just sound really daunting. Like one of them is grants. I think it's my seat. Have I done a single thing with grants? No, because that's not quite how it all works. We have an official title, but we all just kind of do whatever works with our strengths and we're interested in.
Yeah, can we not just do a generic run for the board, and then once we get the people, then have them pick the seats?
I don't know. The descriptions of them came from when we first started the school, and I think it was either the state or the school board that was very insistent on defining why the people on the board, what their strengths were. So it's kind of stayed like that. I don't know if it has to, or if we can drop that off and just say everyone works on these things. I don't know.
Well, if we're doing a charter revision, because I'm assuming this would be something that would have to go through a revision if we were going to change that, right? Because it lists all of the different seats in that. Well, does it list it in the charter? I know it lists it in the policies and procedures.
I don't think it does. If it does, I don't think it specifies it like that. Like it would just say seat A, seat B, seat C.
So that would be probably where we'd have to look and just make sure that we were doing whatever the charter said before we.
Do you know changes. What have you seen, Deanne, at like Family Partnership?
So they did have multiple seats running, and then people applied, and I believe that they did it in multiple different ways, and so that sometimes can get you into trouble. Where if there were 4 seats open and 6 people applied, I know that one year they took the 4 top people with the most votes got the seats. They didn't run for any particular seats, but I can tell you that there were a lot of seats that didn't have any applicants for them. There were never more than 1 and maybe 2 people applying for any seat at a time. It wasn't a hotly contested. None of them were hotly contested elections.
At least we're not alone. Did their seats have definitions like ours do? Like
no,
the seat contracts. Okay, so we don't necessarily have to have that then.
No, they didn't have any specific. But then they got their first charter in 2000 or 1997, so it was kind of one of those things where maybe the state school board decided maybe there should be a little bit more parameters set on some things. Maybe that's why they held you to a higher standard.
Possibly. Okay, so committee is me and Paige. And I'm trying to remember if we're supposed to have 3, if Mindy or Missy want to do it.
I think we were, but last time we didn't have 3, so it was just.
Oh, you're right. It was just you 2. You're right. Okay.
But I think
Well,
it says 3.
I can help if you need me to.
Okay. And I think we paid for, last time we voted to pay for the price that covered 2 elections, right? Okay.
Yes. So I have all of the sign-in information for that I will get you so that you can, although theoretically we can, I don't know what we have to do, because Daryl had said, we had kind of approached him and said at that meeting that we said, if we only have 1 applicant per seat, do we actually have to run an official election? Like, it's going to be a foregone conclusion. He's like, well, write it up and submit it, but I don't know like what the process would be, who would say, yes, you can do it, or if it has to like go to an actual board meeting, or I don't know.
I think it would first go to him saying that, hey, we want to change this, or we voted to change this on our end. And he would decide, and if he might only have to take it to like legal or a department like that. And if they're like, yeah, no, that's fine, then we could change it, and he could say, yeah, it's fine to change. But or he could take it to them and they could be like, ooh, I don't know, that sounds iffy, and then it could have to go to the school board. It just depends on who feels like saying what.
So we might
If
want
it's a
to,
good day or a bad day.
Yeah.
so we might want to write a policy like that and have it at our next meeting to vote on it, and then take it officially to them and say, since we kind of dropped all of that when after the last election, I can write that up if you want, and I'll have it at the next meeting so that we have that proposal voted on official, so that if we only had 1 applicant per seat, we can save the hassle of entering all the election stuff. But if not, we can still do it. It just seems kind of anyway, you know.
And I think there are 1 or 2 schools who have that wording either in their bylaws or in their charter documents as well, because when we were renewing ours, I specifically referenced a school who did that. And the response to that was, well, they're probably going to get called out on that in their charter renewal coming up. So we did not put that in. So, but that was in the middle of some interesting things happening.
And
right.
Deanne,
sorry.
I did forward you the email of the invoice. Did you see that? It came to me over spring break.
I saw that, I saw yesterday that there was an email. And so it's on my list of things to do, to call the company and see if they'll take a payment with a credit card. Because right now, I mean, I think that hopefully they'll take a credit card payment, because otherwise it's going to take a little while for us to work through the PR process. Because I'm an approver for the PRs. I'm not somebody who generates it. So.
And I think when we signed up, I think I asked them that, and I think the answer was yes, but I'm not 100% positive.
So I can give them a call and pay for that
And
with our P card.
Do you still have the invoice, the original one I sent you, or do you need me to send you a new one?
Let me check and see really quick. I think I still have it. If you attached it to your email from last week.
I didn't attach it to that one because I didn't have access to it right then, but I attached it to the one I sent. I think it was in like December or November when we originally signed up and said, yes, we're doing it.
Well, I typically don't delete any emails, so I should be able to find it. If not, I will email you tomorrow or text you tomorrow.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
All right, on to the next one, which is another normal annual thing on here, 2021, 2022 staffing. If we know of any positions that will need to be filled and need to form a hiring committee aside from the one we already have, or keep going with the one we already have.
I recommend that we get a hiring committee ready to do staffing. Nothing official has been submitted to the district for staffing. Right now, they're collecting names of displacements, resignations, or retirements, and then we will go through the fun recruiting staffing process in April for schools that are looking to fill those positions. And my recommendation is that we allow our current staff the time to consider and then submit their information. I don't feel like there's a rush to do that at this point, or an urgent need to fill those before people are ready to submit their paperwork. More than likely, we will be looking for another kindergarten teacher because Miss
Okay, so
Komorowski did get married.
So if we do this, it's basically a preemptive, you're just setting it up because once everybody sees all the options, they might see something that's a little more compelling or whatever, as well as people who have dropped or who might move on to other things.
And we do know we'll need a technology teacher.
I could put our technology position in for staffing because that one is certainly hard to fill. I don't know of any other Spalding school in the district that's going to steal a teacher away from Eagle Academy.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean that. I meant like, what if you wake up one day and you're like, I'm tired of this commute. So whatever, I'm not commuting anymore. I was totally going along those lines. It was not I feel terrible now.
Oh,
I'm no secret sauce insider information, as we all know. Okay.
So when do you have to turn in the information for open positions for the April event?
Oh, I already have to do that at the end of February.
Oh, okay.
But at that point, I didn't have any official resignations in from any staff members. And these are only for AEA certificated teacher positions that they do the staffing. All of the other, the ACE and the totem positions, things like that, there's no deadline.
And
except for special ed TAs, because those are kind of hard to come by.
And what category would the technology teacher fall under?
Certificated.
So the AEA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can advertise for that.
Just because we've had a hard time trying to fill that one in the past, right? So the more people are aware it's open, is that better for us?
Yes.
Okay.
That one is. You know, I don't anticipate any of our other teachers submitting anything at this point. I haven't heard anything. Missy hasn't said. She's indicated that she still has a few more years to teach. So I'm hoping that's still the case.
My husband won't let me be a stay-at-home Grammy. So I'll be here for a while.
Not until we're all Spalding certified here at our school, you know.
And Mindy's younger than I am, so I know that she can't afford to retire yet. No comment, Mindy?
No comment. I'll be here for a while.
All right, so who do we want to have on a committee for that?
I'll do it again.
Are we talking about the hiring committee, right? Yeah, I'll do that one.
So when is my seat up for, you know how all of our seats are going up? Is that before or after this? Because I can,
I think the technical
Participate.
date is like the end of June.
oh, okay. So I can participate until, right.
Do you have
And then
time?
You
I think
know, I could, well, because the technology one, that's what I know, if it happens to be that. That's why I was like, oh, wait, I could actually contribute.
Yeah, and we would probably do interviews for those before staffing, because that way the district's starting to advertise all of those positions. So anybody who's interested in a transfer can apply for those, and then we can interview before staffing. And so when staffing happens, it's kind of like that NFL draft type situation where
Exactly.
so
Sorry.
they go, so they try to displace teachers first, then return from leave teachers, and then transfers. So if a school is displacing a 0.3 tech teacher, we could get a present. And so if somebody was interested and we interviewed, but we got a gift, then we wouldn't be, we would just accept our present and say thank you very much. And but the nice thing about being a charter school is that teachers actually do have a right to refuse a position in a charter school. Versus another building. If it were just Eagle River Elementary, they couldn't say no thank you, but no thanks. They would actually have to take that job. If they refuse that position, then the district will say thank you very much for your service. We have made every effort to keep you employed, but since you're not interested in working, goodbye.
Oh, I thought that was the same, no matter that we were a charter school.
No, if a teacher was displaced and they were assigned to our school and decided they'd like to take it, we don't have a choice. The employee does have a choice, but the school does not. Yeah.
I can be on your committee if you need another person.
So I have Paige, Missy, and Casey that all said that they wanted to. Do you still want to be on that, Mindy?
No, not if she doesn't need me, but if Casey's not able, I can do it.
We only do, is there a number that we have to have for the hiring committee?
I think 3 is the preference.
I say put everyone on, and then if we have a fall off.
Well, the only challenge is that if we're interviewing for it, then everybody has to be to every one of the interviews, right?
Yeah, to keep consistency.
So you can't say, I can't make this interview, but I'll make the next one. You have to be to all of the interviews for like the technology.
You're going to have the same group of people interview all of the candidates in the pool that you're choosing your finalist from. So, I mean, 4 people would work great. I mean, the more the merrier, as long as people are fairly flexible with their schedule.
All right, just put me down then.
Okay.
What's one more thing to my agenda?
Good thing you're so flexible, Mindy.
Yep.
And then, so the next thing is review annual subscription renewals, which is usually like the Discovery, what is it? Discovery streaming and those items, and a Music K8. I don't know if those were included in a budget already, or if we have prices on them, or if people are still using them.
Or if we know if we're going to have to do Zoom next year, or if the district's going to, or if that's just too far away to even think about.
I mean, my hope is that we won't be Zooming at all unless we have to transition a class online. And at that point, we'll have to be a little bit flexible with how we do that. I don't necessarily foresee us continuing with Eagle Academy online as an option. Hopefully, by the end of summer, enough people will have been vaccinated and CDC and state health restrictions will have been lifted. But, Mindy and Missy can tell you how useful those subscriptions are for their classrooms.
I thought DE streaming was no longer available. I thought the district didn't support it.
But we still purchased it.
Oh, we still purchased it?
Yeah,
Okay, because
the
I thought
district-
Judy said that we didn't and she lost all that information.
I don't know, did we purchase it last year? Because I know we've purchased it, I mean, for this year. I haven't used it honestly this year because I haven't been in the classroom for science or social studies.
I don't know. I thought it wasn't purchased or the district wasn't supporting it, so.
It was a few years back that the district was paying for everybody to have it, and then they stopped. And that's when because I know Judy and I both used it.
Yeah.
And that's when we started purchasing it ourselves.
Unless it just got missed because of COVID last year, since that was right around this time.
Okay.
But I don't think we would have purposely said no, because I thought teachers did like to use it.
I think there were at least one or two of the major ones that was approved last spring. And then Tamara went through and actually did the subscriptions for them. But I don't believe the music one was one of those.
No, I know that every
I think she
music
didn't want
teacher, yeah, said that it wasn't needed.
You want to hold off on that? Is the subscription more than $1,000?
I think it's $1,200. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's cheaper. But we can table it for a price, to get a price for the next one.
And maybe see who wants to use it too, if it's worth it.
Is it Discovery Plus? Is that what you're looking at?
Discovery Ed Education.
Oh, okay.
All right, and then the last item on here is the ESSR2 grant.
Yes. I need to submit a proposed budget for you spending the grant. And I had a meeting with OMB about what things the state and the district we're looking at as far as acceptable uses of those funds. My recommendation to the board would be to use part of that for technology in the building. And we could certainly look at any type of assessments that need to take place for that. So if we were going to have to pay for FastBridge, we could use the funding for FastBridge on that. I don't know how useful teachers feel FastBridge is. NWEA still has a early screener, a K-2 screener for their MAP assessment that helps carry on data from kindergarten through ninth grade for students. The only thing that they don't do that FastBridge did was the fluency portion on that. So that's why the district kind of liked FastBridge over MAP for the K-2 grades. But they have a real strong comprehension component to it. I'd like to use the funds to fund additional interventionist TAs for the next 2 years. And then also an option for summer school, to pay our summer school or teachers to do a summer school program. Let me find. The district, I believe, is currently going to offer 2 summer school sessions, one June 2nd to June 30th. And session 2 will be July 12th through August 6th. And these are for the middle schools, but I think that elementary schools are going to be somewhat similar to that. I haven't gotten information from elementary yet on what their summer school program is going to look like. I got an email this afternoon with that information from secondary, and then an email request from Daryl, because elementary and secondary have been fielding a lot of phone calls from families of charter schools asking if they're going to be allowed to attend district summer school options. My thought is, if we're going to have students attend a summer school, that we probably want to do our own version of that so that our kids can actually get instruction and support in our standards and curriculum versus another one. I don't know how helpful the district summer school would be for our students. In this way, I can work with Missy and the SST team to try to build a specific program, a student-specific program for any of our kiddos. And I'd like to be able to limit that to any of our students who are at the 50th or 60th percentile and below. I know that sounds like a huge amount of kiddos, and in a regular elementary school, that would probably cover a lot of their population. But in our school, you're talking only about a handful of kiddos in every grade level at most. In fact, probably Mindy, you can probably think off the top of your head, you probably only have 1 or 2 kiddos in your class in language arts and math that are below the 50th percentile.
I have 1 in language arts and 2 in math.
And Missy, I don't know what your thought is for that.
I would have to look at my scores again. I just can't recall right now. I know I've got a handful though this year. Probably more this year than other years.
So if you offer a summer school, do you have to worry about which teacher is teaching which grade? Like you're having to think about for middle school?
So what we probably would do is find at least one primary teacher to handle the primary grade students, and then a second or intermediate teacher to do that. Mrs. Copping has indicated, our special ed teacher has indicated that she would be willing to be a part of that. So I would like to use some of those funds to pay teachers an addenda to actually run our summer school program at our school.
Do we have teachers who would want to do that, or have you not brought it up to them yet?
I've mentioned it to every teacher individually and in our staff meeting to see if people were interested. And I have at least 2 teachers that are interested. Some teachers said, no way, I really need my summer, which is totally understandable. So if we do run it, it'd probably only be one session, and it may only be for 5 weeks instead of like a 4, maybe only a 4-week session.
And are you just thinking it's like half a day?
Yes.
Okay.
I would really not like to have to worry about lunch and recess and PE and all of that kind of stuff. I want it to be purely instructional in our language arts and math, and then get the kiddos out so that they can enjoy their summer too. Any thoughts, questions, suggestions?
Just a thought. Will we need janitorial during that time? If so, if we know we're going to do that, we might want to write that into the lease, because our rent is lower in the summer because no one does any daily janitorial work.
Okay, we might be able to, we can certainly work with Commercially Clean to maybe just do an amendment to that portion. And that can be paid through the grant also.
Okay.
So are you having to put forward like all of your proposal of what you would like to spend the money for? Or they just kind of want to see what kind of things you're thinking you might want, and then you will still have a balance that you can still use?
Correct. For things that we know that we'd like to do right now, they're not expecting us to know right away what we want to spend all $191,000 on. I mean, that's just, we don't want to, we're not going to be able to use all of that at this point. But just a rough idea, do we want to use it on summer school? So are we using it for whether it's instruction, as far as facilities go, there we may be able to use those on individual classroom HEPA filters if we felt like that's something that we could fund. The thing with that is we need to consider the cost of replacing those individual filters over time.
What about expansion to make, more space for our students? And
yeah, I started to go down there and everyone said, I don't think so.
Well, that way we could allow to make sure to have all of our students back in the building if we're at 50% capacity, creating the space for that.
Or the storage space, so we're not running into, kids can't use the gym and the desks have a place to go.
So I can put that on there and see if anyone notices.
And then I just wanted to clarify, you said that you were wanting to fund the 2 interventionist TA positions for the next 2 years. Is that 2 additional to the ones that we're trying to hire now? Or would it be funding just the 2 we're trying to hire for the next 2 years?
2 that we're trying to hire for the next 2 years, because I'm not sure that the state is going to give us the grant that we were previously using the funds for to actually do that. I don't know that the state is continuing that at this point. Yeah, and so Missy and I worked through some numbers today. I talked with HR. Those positions, unfortunately, are designed to be a minimum wage position, so they don't pay a whole lot. Originally, I thought we were paying $9.86 an hour, but it turns out um, the position pays $10.34, which is the state's minimum wage. Um, and at 120 days for 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, it costs us roughly a little less than $5,000. So we can certainly afford um, two interventionist TAs. I don't know that we'll find three, or even if that's something that's manageable. But it is designed to help us start getting some of our kiddos caught up that might have fallen a little farther behind during the pandemic that we would like or that we had expected. And I believe that we might also be able to use those funds for some sort of, and I'm just going to use the term, so you're going to have to bear with me and maybe think outside the box, but to help with some of the social emotional impacts that COVID has had on our students. And so, what that looks like for our school can be totally different than what it looks like in an SEL program in another school.
I think it would look really good if our kids had like more playground space to be healthier outside. And if we could purchase the playground space instead of renting it, wouldn't that be awesome?
I wonder if he would sell it and like the next to it.
That's what I was
And that
hoping.
little, and the little greenhouse, pop that in there so kids could plant, farm things, and actually have awesome outside time.
Well, that is already ours.
And
We just
sometimes
haven't-
grow things in it.
We just
Right, I was
haven't grown anything in it this year because of COVID.
Right. Rejuvenate that program. I think that's going to be, that's suddenly going to be discover it's super helpful.
Yeah. So if you have any suggestions, please kind of send them my way. I can start kind of building a list of things and just putting an estimated dollar amount on what we think it might cost for this next year.
So will they allow us, because you brought up the social emotional stuff, is that some of this ESSR can go towards that?
Yes.
So I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know if it would work or not, but having a community, school-wide event where everyone's able to get together and celebrate together, maybe a big achievement for our school if some of the funds could help build that positive interaction within our school. I don't know if that would qualify, but.
Well,
I don't know. I just throwing it out there.
I've gone around
party products.
a few times with the district on what we could possibly use for funds, and so there may be a little bit of a leeway for things. They are going to use those to hire some counselors. The district, I think, is using some of those funds to hire counselors for their elementary schools and things like that. I mean, they are using it a lot of it to sustain programs that will be going away. So, fortunately for us, we don't have a huge budget deficit that we need this to supplant some of those holes. So for us, it might be more of a challenge to figure out how to spend all of those funds. But if you have some sort of creative language that would make it look like it wasn't a celebration, I'd certainly be willing to pass that on.
Well, I think overcoming the social isolation that everyone had and bringing the unity back together, but I don't know what terms really would be. I think it would be really good for our school community to have that kind of thing. So I don't know what kind of, if that would qualify or how you could word it, but I do think that it would be very positive, emotional building, social building to have
That's called, it's
back together.
in the military, we call that reintegration. So when, well, no, when spouses have deployed, right, and soldiers have deployed, and everybody has to come back together, there's actually this mandatory reintegration time where people all come together and you sort of re-engage and figure out who's still there and who's, but it's very
So if we-
highly used word, reintegration.
If we wanted to adopt an SEL program that had a component of community building / what is it? Just a learning how to socialize together component, we could probably get that on the list.
I feel like you're resisting the word reintegration. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
But it's much shorter than that other thing you said. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that, the language of having a celebration and bringing people together is synonymous with COVID and social distancing.
Overcoming that.
Could you tell me what is the, what do we need to keep the money for? What is it tagged for? So I kind of know what is it
It's part
supposed to
of-
be used for, I guess?
It's for reopening schools. Anything that we needed to do to get schools reopened so that we can start servicing students again, whether it was for staffing, training, and even making sure that we had curriculum that was tied through getting kids back on track, those sorts of things.
Okay. Is it
I
just
know that we'd like,
students or is it for teachers as well?
what do you mean?
Are you sneaking in massages again?
Nope, I'm sneaking on a trip to Hawaii for the staff.
Yeah, so travel is off the list of opportunities, unless you're going to a specific training. If you find a conference in Hawaii that deals with the social emotional impacts or the instructional impacts that COVID has had on students and schools.
I almost think I remember seeing a training that Melissa Timberlake was offering in Hawaii, and it had to do with Spalding and integrating SEL using Spalding methods and techniques. I will find that information and get it to you.
I could probably
to
go
me.
with it if it was interventions to build Spalding fluent readers and writers.
Yes, if you can get a school in Hawaii to actually want to become Spalding certified or get teachers Spalding training, we can probably use some of this funds for that. Or they can use some of their funds to bring us there.
I am totally putting my foot outside that box again.
Do it. I'm used to it.
Yeah, and so Mindy, anybody who goes is taking on the big job of helping me because I'm not going to be working while you're sitting on the beach.
Oh, sweetheart, I'll be right there with you.
Sitting
I
on the
will-
beach.
Yep.
Okay.
So on that one, you're just looking for ideas for that, but not necessarily, I mean, what we list or what is listed doesn't have to necessarily happen. It's just a list of things we could use it for. Or do you want, okay.
Mhm.
And there could be things that come up next year that are results of this last year that we would still want to have stuff, some finances aside because it's for 2 years, right?
Yes. So, whatever the budget that I sort of submit would be for what expenses we anticipate using for the next school year. And if we don't use it, we don't use it. If things come up that we want to add to it, we can certainly add to it. It wouldn't prevent us from adding to anything. Unless it was, a big party to Hawaii just because.
This is totally legit, okay? So now might be a good time to think about replacing desks. If the desks are getting yucky. I know that I had 30 of those desks and 30 chairs and I don't have them all. And I had those before they were taken down. And I know Judy had them too, and she doesn't have them all.
So if you can find more functional desks that provide an opportunity for you to provide some distance for students, then let's talk about that.
So when the students all come back, are you going to still have to do the 6-foot distance between the desks?
No, we can't. It's physically not possible in our classrooms to maintain. With just half of our kids, we were able to get that 6 feet in there. But with
And also, I was just it hasn't hit the district yet, but a big study just came out that 3 feet might do the job. So they'll probably start reviewing and looking at that pretty quickly.
Well, I've asked the teachers to put their desks back to pre-COVID conditions because the CDC recommendation is if you can't get the 6 feet, that you maintain your bubbles. And so the reason I've done this is to be able to socially distance our levelers in classrooms more than 6 feet away from their other cohorts. I know that it sounds horrible to distinguish levelers, but we really do need to keep our bubbles separate. And it's actually, in our program, it's a good thing because most kids are leveling up. We do have some kids that level down, but it also is something it's just good for students and instruction. So I have asked teachers to be able to maintain some distance for their levelers in their classrooms so that if we do have any instances in COVID, we don't have to pivot multiple classrooms at a time online. Because if we pivot 3 classrooms, because we do have students that level up or down for different things, then we might actually be forced to close the whole school down, even though we can staff the other classrooms because we won't have enough students technically in attendance Although I don't know if the district is going to, or the state is going to count those as absences. If we continue to Zoom online, those might still be considered school days for those kids. Because if you don't have enough students in attendance per day, then it's not actually counted as a school day. And then we'd have to add those days on to the end of the year. So I'm really trying to avoid having to add school days on to the end of the year also.
So with the kindergarten class, do you not know that yet? They didn't work that through?
Well, just one class being online doesn't constitute the majority of our students.
Oh,
You know, enough of our kids being out of school.
got it.
Yeah.
All right. Any more on the grant item? If not, we can move on to financial review, which is something Deanne sent out in her email.
Yeah, it was the general ledger. I think it was 4 pages.
Oh yeah, the attachment is called March GL.
And I do believe that there's going to be a little bit of a financial impact that we'll see from our AA retirement, because Totem employees are allowed to cash out all of their annual leave. Teachers don't get to cash out their sick leave. They get so many personal days that they don't use that they could cash out, but Totem employees are allowed to take all of their annual leave with them.
And where would that be on here?
It would be under the 04 counter, and that would be on page 2. So administrative support. And that, I don't believe that her leave has been worked through yet, as far as our budget is concerned.
And
She's used that much leave so far this year, but she had some leave that was still in her bank.
do we have any clue how much might be there and have been in her bank?
I can ask HR.
Well, probably by the next time of our next meeting, I would assume it would already be processed, right?
It's possible.
Maybe.
Any other questions on that? Before we go, I had a question. I should have asked it under principal report, but do we have an update on the shirts, the blue ribbon shirts?
Yes. So we are not going to be allowed to use any of our general funds on the t-shirts. The district is insistent. This is all the way up through the chief financial officer, that we use our Fund 5 account for that as principal discretion. In the Fund 5 account, we don't have anything in there that's kind of just general funds. We have funds that we collect back from the Spalding cards that goes all into one of those Fund 5 accounts. I believe like sixth grade has their account for their travel and fundraising and things like that. There is an account with roughly $30,000 in it. It is an account that was created. I don't believe anything has been added to it for a long time, but it was the fund, PTO or PTA or some group fundraiser for facilities.
That was the year there was going to be a budget shortfall, right?
That was the building fund, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it's a building fund. So we could actually use that for the t-shirts.
And so is that 30,000 anywhere on this ledger at all?
Nope, that's not in there. It's not general funds. It's kind of cash or revenue generated from fundraising and other things. So it's not public dollars that was given to us by the state.
So that's what the general ledger is, all the public dollars from the state.
Yep, yep. So I did talk to Paige about a couple of options, and I don't know if she's mentioned anything to anybody. Okay, well, so the district's recommendation is to actually use the Fund 5 account.
Which is not this $30,000 from our building fund.
Yeah, it is that.
Okay.
But we could, I mean, I guess
There's one other way of doing it, but I
Hesitate?
I hesitate to advocate for that that position because it really just is a workaround.
How much was the total for the blue shirts? Do we know?
$3,001 and some cents, but I don't remember how much.
And we really kind of only got caught in that because we have a $2,500 limit on our P cards. And so we asked them to raise our limit, and then they said, well, you can't use it anyway.
So is there more in this Fund 5 account than the $30,000 for the building fund? This, whatever money's left from the sixth grade travel trip and the Spalding cards? That's all that's in there?
I think there's a couple other smaller accounts. We have, I think some donations that we got for like, some organization in the lower 48 allowed their employees to designate a nonprofit. And I believe somebody sent us a $500 check because their employees named us as a school. So we have things like that in there sitting there, but not nearly to the tune of $3,000. And I believe that grant was, or that donation was specifically used for STEM or science activities because it was I think an engineering group that donated it. So what I worried about was, you know, we have all of these Fund 5 accounts where funds were donated or given to the school for specific activities, and I didn't want to take money away from those accounts for the t-shirts. The only one that I thought would even apply would be the one that was fundraised for the building.
Now, could we, if we wanted to use it, from that Fund 5 with the building expansion, could we move or make a motion that when we do expansion, that we repay that money from our, we cover the cost of what wouldn't be in there with our money? Does that make sense?
Well,
Like from,
we can't transfer funds from the general ledger to the Fund 5, but we can
no, I know
certainly.
that, but we
Oh,
would just
okay.
say, we're taking the money out of here, so we would only have 20 whatever, but where we would have put in 100,000, we'll put in 103,000.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Just so it doesn't look like we're,
Yes.
Because technically that building expansion could go towards the expansion if we were to incur any of those costs or whatever, as we are looking at expanding in our current building. That was what the purpose of it was for that expansion. It was supposed to be another building, but if that doesn't happen and we're staying where we're at,
I missed what was said after I talked. I froze.
I think what I had said was that the money for the building fund could be used for, like, as you're working with lease negotiations for Sean and saying we could pay this much for these improvements or changes in
Oh, I
the
see what you're saying.
building, so that, because that's what the money was originally raised for, was for the expansion of the building. It was supposed to be a separate building. That's where we were going with it. But if we're ending up not getting another building and expanding where we're at, that money could go there. So are we able to make a motion on this? Because this is not technically an agenda item. We kind of came back.
Oh, I didn't mean tonight. I was just wondering if there was an update, but if the update is that we can't do anything unless we use those funds, we can throw that on a next agenda.
Well, you did approve for us to use the funds. You didn't approve necessarily where the funds came from. I had hoped to use our general funds, but it turns out that we aren't able to use general funds for that. It would have to come from the Fund 5. So if you would like to have a specific motion regarding a change to that, you could, or if since you've already approved for me to use the $3,000 to pay for that, we could go that route either. So does anybody remember if the motion was specifically to take it from the general funds?
No, and I'm
Are the
okay.
encumbered funds the same as general funds?
Well, yeah, because
Since
there's
it-
nothing encumbered in the Fund 5 account. Yeah.
No, I don't think we specified. I think we just said up to this amount per shirt.
Yeah, I have Mindy made a motion that teachers get sizes for their classes for shirts, short sleeve shirts for their students, but staff, APB, PTO adults can choose long sleeve, and their order gets placed before winter break. I think might happen. Not to exceed $25 per shirt. That was the official motion. Unless we had another one follow up after that, but I don't think we did.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
I'm okay with not changing it and not revisiting it.
You say just order the shirts.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm ready to order these daggum shirts and file this away from my brain.
So does anyone have an objection to using the $3,000 from the building fund?
Nope.
'Cause that would be where the hangup would be.
So Deanne, I can just come to school and do what I did before, and then how do we pay for it? I don't even know how to do that.
So we will have to go through the same process. I'm going to email the P card group to request that they temporarily increase the limit on my P card to $3,500 for this one-time purchase, and tell them that we will be using the Fund 5 account and give them the budget code for it so that they don't get upset. Otherwise, we're going to have to actually go through the PR process, so you won't be able to order it online. You'll have to, the district will want to direct pay the vendor.
All
That
right.
was Fund 5 way, only if we don't do the Fund 5 way, correct?
No, for any purchase, we can actually go through the purchase order and the district will actually cut a check to the vendor from their account and then transfer that money out of our account. Or I
Right,
can
but
pay
that's
with a P, yeah.
preferred way for us to hurry up and get it done,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
For us to hurry up, I'm going to have to convince the P card group that we will use the Fund 5 and not our general ledger account for them to increase my P card limit. The other way is for me to just pay it on my personal credit card and then request a reimbursement through our Fund 5 account.
Use that as the backup option.
All right. So Paige,
We
you
don't
can
have to
come
do that.
in. You can come in and you guys can take care of that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It won't happen in just a day, Paige. I have a sneaking suspicion it might take a day or two.
Well, you just text me when you're ready for me to come up there and put the order in.
Tomorrow
that?
morning. Let's start tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And I think that is it. If anyone wants to make a motion.
Make a motion that we adjourn at 7:43.
Second.
All right. Adjourned at 7:44 on my clock.
Oh,
Bye,
yep.
guys.
All right.